Joining me now for a closer look at these lawsuits and why so many states are banding together, Activate co-founder and CEO Michael Wolf. Michael, these lawsuits taken together along with the antitrust suit that's been filed by the Department of Justice may be the biggest threat Google has ever faced to its business. How big a threat is it in your view?
I really don't think these are threats to the business. I think to a large extent, these will end up as fines, but this is not like Microsoft having to separate off from Internet Explorer 20 years ago. In a lot of cases, consumers can just decide to use another browser. I mean, some of the issues come down to their control, Google's control of advertising, and over time that could be impacted. The bigger issue is when you look at Google, Facebook, and Amazon, they only have a third of all internet traffic, but they today capture 2/3 of all internet advertising. And so, of course, some of these efforts will chip away at it, but I don't think that they're going to be totally harmful in the long run for Google.
Google makes the case that, as you say, customers can simply choose to use other products, but they choose to use Google. I mean, do you think the government has it wrong here? Is Google not a threat?
I think Google is a threat. I think that the question is how much will the Justice Department or in these state lawsuits really impact Google's practices? We have to recognize Google dominates search. It's an activity that people use every day, multiple times a day. And although there may be some practices, it's ultimately not going to dramatically change Google's business or Google's stranglehold on search.
Lawsuits have also been filed by the government against Facebook. There's scrutiny of Apple. There's scrutiny of Amazon. Yes. Do you think any one of these companies in particular is in a worse position than the others?
I think some of the suits really will undermine people's confidence. So I think the suit that was filed yesterday by Texas and 10 other states about Facebook and Google colluding, and I think those are going to be issues that ultimately could impact advertisers as well as consumers. But I think overall, I doubt that there's any one of these in particular. I think the bigger issue is not just the lawsuits. I think the bigger issue is just even the conflicts. So you have Facebook and Apple now fighting over Apple's requirement that people give permission to be tracked across apps. These are issues that as these companies get bigger, it's going to be squabbles between them, not just with the government.
Now, Michael, you are constantly looking at trends, trying to figure out what's here to stay and what is just a flash in the pan. Based on 2020, clearly an unprecedented year, will certainly lead to permanent changes in some behaviors, but other behaviors will go back to normal. What do you think is here to stay that is a new trend we have seen in 2020?
A couple of things. I think, first of all, if you look at during shelter in place this time, usage of gaming, of video gaming, has gone way up. And I mean, it's not surprising. People wanted to be in a cyber world, have gameplay, and also be social. I think that's going to continue to increase. And in fact, all of the major tech platforms, all the major companies, they're going to want to be in the game business even more. I think we should expect to see mergers between the biggest companies and gaming companies. I think the second thing is that virtual reality has now hit the mainstream. If you look at within the first 5 months of the shelter in place, 56% of all VR headsets were sold. In other words, everybody who owns a VR headset today, 56% of them were bought in shelter in place. So we're going to see this year the VR world really explode. And it's going to be exciting, the number of applications that are there. And I think overall, the other thing that's here to stay is that the amount of time that people are spending with technology and media has increased. It's increased by almost an hour a day, and it's going to continue. People are not going back to old habits. And finally, online grocery, it's grown in 5 months. It grew ahead 5 years. And we're going to be buying, everyone's going to be buying more of their groceries online, and more people are going to be using online for every type of shopping you can imagine.
Well, I know, unfortunately, we have been playing more video games in this household and definitely ordering more groceries online. We will be watching for all of that. Michael Wolff, Activate founder and CEO, thank you so much for sharing your future thoughts with us.